I recently attended Learning Live 2018, organised by Ed Monk and the team over at the LPI. It's a must event for anyone involved in L&D strategy. The agenda is crowdsourced, so they reach out to their member base and that helps shape that agenda. Hot topics this year included chatbots, AI, digital transformation and also L&D skills. I like the event because there's lots of talks by L&D professionals, so it's really practical. The networking is also great, and this year's keynote speaker was an absolute scorcher. I could have done a video just on that alone. So I would say now it's the premier L&D event in the UK. So here are my 5 from Learning Live 2018. Number 1, well, it's a panel discussion I got stuck into, which included Laurie Miles Hoffman from Fuse and Catalina Schervinger from Vodafone. Catalina talked about how capabilities are often out of date before they are launched in the business, and that resonated with me. I've recently worked on a number of projects where just before we were about to launch, the requirements and the contents had to change in order to meet the needs of a new capability. She also talked about how she was making her team more agile so they could respond more quickly. Laurie talked about how in a previous role she'd set up her team as a media agency. We were able to respond really quickly, so she was turning some stuff around in about 3 hours. I wonder if Laurie has given us a little bit of a glimpse into how maybe an L&D team or a learning team of the future is going to be structured, and also how quickly it may need to respond. Number 2, L&D skills. So this came across in a number of talks, and it came up in quite a few conversations I had over the course of the 2 days. People were saying they were looking to recruit individuals with skills in things like data analytics and marketing, amongst a whole host of other different things. And this was backed up in my conversation with Nick Bate from the Recruiters Blue Eskimo. He said he was getting more and more requests for non-traditional L&D roles. This was, I suppose, summed up by Donald Taylor in his closing address when he was talking about when pulling together the latest LPI L&D capability map, things had to radically change. So each year there's just incremental changes, but this year he said he had to start from scratch. So it looks like L&D skills are going to be big on everyone's agenda for 2018. Number 3, practical tips and smart ideas, and the winner of this goes to Lorenzo Guillermo from O2. He was looking at alternative ways to kind of track and measure success. So he went over to his marketing team and asked them how they measure success, and then he took some of that, of what he learned, and then applied that within his function. And it's interesting because earlier I'd mentioned Catalina, and in her room 101 she had said what she'd like to get rid of was LMS tracking and measurement. And so we're seeing more and more people looking at different ways to kind of track, measure success and also evaluate learning. The second smart idea from Lorenzo was all about user-generated content and how he was rewarding people for the creation of the content, much in the way as Udemy or Udacity do. I know how hard it is to get a user-generated content culture off the ground, and I thought this was a really clever way to kind of reward people, to get people to generate content, and also to create a really good network of subject matter experts. Number 4, this came out of a conversation I had with someone who was sitting next to me during one of the talks. We were both talking about how organisations were transforming, hers because of regulatory change, mine because of digital. And I was saying how we had started to create squads and tribes, and how we were collapsing management decision making, how we were trying to drive design thinking through the business. And she said talked about how much her company focused on the environment and how much that had changed. And it meant every single employee knew the change was happening and there was no avoiding it. It also meant that there were specific places people could go if they wanted to do collaboration or if they wanted to experiment. And it really made me think that our spaces haven't really changed that much, and it's maybe a time to start having a look at that and seeing how we can maybe make some changes. So number 5, And this was all around a panel discussion, a really interesting one. And on that panel was Hannah Gore from Celera, Matt Ash from MediaZoo, Gemma Gritchley from Aviva, and Adam Harwood from ASOS. And what was nice, they had really refreshing views on learning. Dr. Hannah Gore was introduced as the Queen of MOOCs, and she was an advocate as MOOCs as a learning channel. Adam talked about being a problem solver, and he'd actually removed the word learning from his conversations. Gemma talked about not running L&D from an ivory tower, and that conversation continued when I was speaking to Simon Gibson from Fujitsu, when we were saying how L&D needs to be closer to its learners. It needs to be in and amongst its learners in order to understand what they want and what they need. And then Matt summed it up nicely by saying, look, we just need to ask better questions. So that's my 5 from Learning Live 2018. So get yourself down for 2019 and also check out what else the LPI is up to. So until next time.